Oh,
All right.
cool.
You'll be on Facebook Live here in a moment.
All right. It's loading with my wife.
Oh, this one. All right.
I think my mom, though, will give her another bottle of that one since I took hers.
We're here.
All right, is it going?
I think it is.
About the closest I've got to a beverage right now is a cup of coffee, but it's empty. So
Well, we're live here on Facebook Live, and go ahead and we have Kathleen from your school
Kathleen
is watching right now. Welcome, Kathleen. Welcome to there we go.
CVTechTalk Live. Yep. So, all right, we're gonna get this officially started off in a minute.
My Aunt Joan is here too.
Oh, Aunt Joan's here.
She is
Aunt
now.
Joan.
Yeah, my Aunt Joan, though, she's an educator. She taught second
cool.
for years and years and coached like the beginning teachers in California.
Nice. Awesome. Very good. Career educator. I respect that. That's cool. I was doing a live video today and my dad popped onto it.
Love it. Cool.
My dad's been in sales pretty much his whole career. So he's done training and stuff. So it's kind of like an educator, in a lot of ways, but my kids pop onto it sometimes too. They're like, "Hi, Dad."
That's cool.
Yeah, so the welcome tweet just dropped.
All right.
So for those of you on Facebook and not on Twitter, the welcome tweet says, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and what your job is. And then as an icebreaker, what is your favorite book for pleasure or professional and why?
Oh, that's a good question. All right.
Ooh.
Well, I have to say, I haven't read your new book, Matt, but I do love Ditch That Textbook. It's a good one. That is
yes.
That was a seminal moment in my career reading that book and like, yeah, someone gets me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I got to say, it's been fun from the two of you to follow you on Twitter and to see your conference presentations and all the stuff that you guys have been doing, because like, I feel like it's a cycle at this point. I feel like I'm picking up as much as I'm throwing out. You guys have done some really cool stuff. And Ditch That Copier was a wonderful spin off of Ditch That Textbook, I thought, so.
Yeah,
if it even was, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't.
It's really part of our book that's coming out this fall, and it's how it is. It's how that kind of it was inspired by Ditch That Textbook and how to get people to there.
Right.
And
yeah.
Like for a lot of teachers, that sounds so controversial. Like I'm like, no, I want to get you there eventually. Let's move you toward. It's just a great kind of entry level for a tech coach. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So Kathleen on Facebook was putting her headphones in, so she wants me to repeat the prompt.
Okay.
So Kathleen,
okay.
So we watch Matt. We follow both the Facebook comments and Twitter, so that's why it's good. There's here. But Kathleen, cool. The prompt is to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, your job, and then what is your favorite book for pleasure or professional and why. And Mark Lowndes joining us as well from Cupertino. Welcome, Mark. On Facebook, we've got Sarah from Dinuba in our area here. Excellent. And she teaches second grade in Visalia also. Awesome. Glad to have you guys. Excellent. And
definitely. So I thought I'd chime in real quick with my favorite book, since we were talking about books. I'm going to go a little bit outside of the education space. And so sure, a couple minutes ago, I was like doing this because I'm looking at my bookshelves that are around my desk. The closer it is to my desk, the more that I like it. So I knew there was a good chance that I would find it. So I'm just going to pick one that I'm excited about that I thought of right now. And so it's going to be this one. It's a book called Steal the Show. And this is about public speaking. It says, from speeches to job interviews to deal closing pitches, how to guarantee a standing ovation for all the performances in your life. And it's written by Michael Port, whose in-person training I took. So this guy who wrote this book does in-person training, and I went to his training center for like 16 days last year and did public speaker training there, and it was amazing. So
that's awesome. Always learning, there's always to learn. I love that.
Yeah. I figured I do so much professional development. I need to develop professionally too. And I thought that was an area that's a little outside of my zone of genius, so to speak. So I thought I'd brush up on those skills a little bit. It was great. It was really good.
Some of those books that Robert Kaplinski told us about when we were about a year ago, I started hooking up with Robert Kaplinski. He wants us to develop some online courses, and so he gave some books for us to read about how to brand ourselves and how to build our mailing list and stuff that I never would have thought about. Yeah. That really has changed our practice. That was our definite professional development.
Yeah.
But it looks like we have Adam Moeller from Cincinnati just joined us on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
He says his favorite professional book right now is EduProtocols.
Oh, nice.
That's also one of mine.
Good choice there. See, check me out. Check me out.
Oh.
I got both of them
Love
here. I love me some John and Marlena.
Yep.
Awesome. Good stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Another great DVC book there. So Kathleen answered on Facebook. She is an instructional coach and avid lady, she says, but most importantly, an advocate for kids. Yes. She says Harry Potter all day, every day. And then for professional, 180 Days by Gallagher and Kittle. Yes, Kelly Gallagher, I saw him speak. He's down in Anaheim. He teaches, but he also wrote this book, and he's a high school English teacher. Awesome. He's got his kids and his colleagues' kids who's in the Midwest somewhere, I believe. They're on flip grids talking about the same books they read all the time.
Sweet. That's amazing. Yeah.
So he's got a good book too. So I'm glad she mentioned him. Awesome.
Yeah. I've heard great things about Kelly Gallagher. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Kathleen's our avid expert. She's like kind of what think of what Caripo is for Q. She is for Avid out here in California. She's the
sweet.
She's anything you want to know about Avid. She's high up there with the Avid circles and has us just purring. It's amazing what she's doing.
We've got question 1 just dropped.
Yeah, so I'll go and read question 1, which is, so what has technology empowered you and your students to do in the classroom, either face-to-face or remote?
It's a great question.
It's a great question there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
We have
we
have John Van Dusen from Michigan. This is one of Kyle Anderson's friends.
Okay.
He's joining in, and he's like, any book about coaching or leadership. That's what he's into.
Nice.
All right.
Matt, you were gonna say something?
Oh yeah, well, I was gonna touch on that question, but since we're talking about books and talking about coaching, let me throw this one into the mix. See, I just keep grabbing them. Here's this book called The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier, who I think is an Aussie. And it says, say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever. So I found that this has been a really, really good coaching book. I picked it up. It was kind of an impulse buy, and I couldn't put it down. I thought it was fantastic. So,
awesome.
See, we didn't know we were going to be geeking out about books tonight, and that's all we've done so far.
That's okay. Oh, look, this Anna, she's a first-year teacher from Tennessee, and she said this is the first time she's joined this chat. So welcome to Anna.
Sweet.
Awesome.
We have Les Dienerstein from Southern California. He says his favorite books are anything that's sci-fi or geeky. I know Les is a big Star Trek fan.
True.
So.
Nice. Very good. I also have to shout out Les because he's been on a whole bunch of my live videos recently. So I feel like I've been hanging out with Les for the last couple of weeks. So
Les will usually join us on our Friday night happy hours. We're just decompressing and having a drink, and he's always got some interesting comments. Yeah, we love Les. We got to hang out with Les for the first time at ISTE last year. So even though he's a few hours from us, we meet him for the first time in Philadelphia. Go figure.
Yeah.
Hey, I think this question is for the book you referred to, Matt, on Facebook Live. Lupe's asking who was the author. I'm guessing
the coaching book.
Yeah.
Or the public speaking book.
Oh,
I'll just touch on both of them. So this is the one I just had, The Coaching Habit, and that one's by Michael Bungay Stanier. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. So that one's called The Coaching Habit. And then the other one I was talking about, other than EduProtocols, of course, was called Steal the Show. That's the public speaking one. I got to tell you, this is almost like a user's manual for how to craft a really good speech. And it's by Michael Port.
Okay.
And what's funny is when I was in person doing the trainings with him, see, like, look at my bald head and my face and everything. And now look at his picture.
Oh my goodness.
Some similarities.
Yeah.
It's like a cross between you and Adam Welcome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that. While I was at the training, I was standing like looking at something on the wall and all they could see was the back of my head. And someone walked up to me and thought that I was him. And I'm like, no, sorry. So
Matt Garrett is watching us on Facebook Live.
Yeah,
Welcome, Matt.
Matt Garrett's part of our
yes.
local keyboard out here.
Yeah.
So.
Sweet. Very good. Good to see him here. So cool.
We got Katie McNamara here. Did you already mention that?
No, I'm looking at
librarian.
Yeah.
From Sanger, where we live, Sarah Smith.
Oh, cool.
And she says what's empowered her is creativity times 1,000. She connects with others inside and outside the classroom. And recently, it's helped her develop a passion for graphic novels.
That.
She's like the graphic novel expert.
Yeah.
Teachers will go to her to find out what their students would like. So that's cool. Oh, Blake is here. Blake Maskey from
Hanford, I think?
No, it's Tulare.
Okay.
Tulare.
He was out there somewhere.
Tulare City. He says that tech has allowed him and his students to expand how they learn and has helped him talk to other educators. So it's empowering both the kids and himself. That's great.
Yeah. Fun fact, I've been to Tulare. I went out there and did their opening keynote at one point a few years ago. Denise Douglas asked me to come out there, and that was a fun experience. And I got to have orange sauce for the first time. Ed Campos introduced me to orange sauce.
Yes.
I got 3 bottles in my fridge right now.
Nice. See, I need to get some at some next time I'm out in California somehow, some way. I need to figure that out. I wanted to mention, if you haven't seen this one, my friend Todd Shriver popped into the Twitter side of the chat.
Yeah, cool.
So Todd is a really cool guy. He teaches, or at least taught recently, social studies. And so in his tweet, I hope I'm not like bogarting your conversation here by reading people's tweets too. But he says using Google Meet, Skype, and Zoom to record interviews and share experiences from students as lessons. Fortunate to have Dee Snyder of Twisted Sister share his thoughts and experiences in music with our history of rock and roll and band students. And so if I can tell you just real quick a little bit about Todd's cool story, for years, he's been trying to get really great guests to talk to his students in this little school in rural Indiana. And he used to teach a class called The History of the 80s, which at first makes you think, oh, that's kind of a cool class. And then B, you're like, there's a history class about the 80s? That's kind of messed up, But obviously there was no textbook for history of the 80s. So he just started trying to get people to Skype into his class. And so he got like Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. He got 2 of the original MTV VJs. He got Mark Goodman and Alan Hunter to come in. There's the captain of the 1980 Miracle on Ice U.S. Olympic hockey team, Mike Eruzione. He Skypes with his kids every single year. And so I think Todd is one of my favorite examples of how it never hurts to ask. And the worst thing they can say is no, but they might say yes. And so,
Hey, so we forgot what we always do when we do Facebook Live.
Yes.
We tell everyone what we're drinking.
Yes.
So not yet. We always feature a local wine out here. So right now we're drinking what's called a Wildflower Red. It's from Valley Oak Winery, which is literally 5 minutes from our house. It's awesome to have a great winery that close. It's I forget what exactly the blend is, but it's for $20, you're going to get a high quality wine. It tastes a lot more expensive than $20. So yes, Wildflower Red is what we are drinking tonight. We haven't done Facebook Live in over a month, not since the quarantine.
It's been busy.
Yeah, so we're like, find the time to do it. We were gonna do it last week, but yeah, it was insane.
I forget what happened.
Yeah, we were gonna do that with Colin Anderson.
Busy day or
whatever.
We're
gonna get back at Facebook Live because it's.
It's because it was my
it was your birthday.
It was my birthday, and my mom brought me food.
That's why.
That's what it was.
Wow. Yeah.
All the days blend together now,
Yeah. Quarantine. #quarantine life.
Yeah. Seriously.
So question 2 just dropped, and it says, what's the most fun, memorable activity you've seen in your class or someone else's that uses tech?
A good one.
Nice.
So, what's kind of interesting is, as a teacher, I thought the coolest thing I saw was kids like using spheros and programming the little spheros to like go around a maze and do all the geometry and all this stuff. And it was engaging for the kids. But what was even more engaging for the kids was back in 2014, where our class and the class next door, I taught sixth grade and fifth grade class, they did like a mock trial. So they studied some theory, and then like the jury had iPads and they got to vote in real time, and it was projected for all the kids to see that, like the whole.
Oh, wow.
Not really as techy though, to be honest, as the students, but and then it was videotaped, right? So they could watch it later. It was just like it gave them this voice. So you can do all this really cool tech stuff, but it's when the kids are able to speak and perform and not just play with the cool tech toy, so to speak. I think that's the reason it was so powerful.
Yeah, I think, I'm right along with you on that one. I think that if you can get to an amazing learning experience, sometimes you only need just a little boost in tech to get there. It's like use just as much as you need to get to where you want to go. And in your case, it just used a little bit of extra tech, and that was all that it took, which I love.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. For me, I've got to say it all comes down. That's so funny. I was just talking about my friend Todd. Video calls definitely hands down are the best experiences for me. My high school Spanish students did mystery Skype calls in another language with students from other states, from Canada, from Spain. And then we actually did what we called a virtual cultural exchange between our kids in rural Indiana and a class of kids in Valencia, Spain. And so we got on regular video calls. We did a couple of whole class video calls, and then we paired our students off. It was 2 of my kids and 2 of the kids from Valencia, Spain. It was in groups of 2. And every Monday we would do video calls together. We do a little bit of time in Spanish, a little bit of time in English, and then we just gave them a little bit of time to hang out. And I tell you what, if there was anything I could do to open their eyes to the greater world around them and other cultures, that was it. And that's hands down one of my favorite experiences from my own class.
Yeah, my favorite mystery Skype, mystery hangout in our case was, this was years ago with a good friend of ours, Daniel Rocha. He connected his kids with a, so he had 7th grade avid students in rural Orosi, who most of these kids have never, we live 20 minutes from the giant sequoias and they've never been there. So he connected with these kids, 11th graders in the Bronx. And and the cultural exchange was just amazing to watch. Like the kids in the Bronx are like, "What? You guys have yards? Your parents drive you places?" I'm like, and our kids are like, "Wait, you take the subway to school? You take a cab?" Like it just things that seems so insignificant was just a huge eye opener for both sets of kids.
I feel like those types of connections really build empathy. That's what Kelly Gallagher was saying with his high school students in Anaheim too, was it just builds that empathy, because when people judge others, it's often out of ignorance. They've never interacted with someone from another culture or whatever it may be. And so I love to see kids get to know someone that they never would have before through tech, and all of a sudden start to build that empathy.
We've gone international again tonight. We haven't seen him in a while. It's Francois Provencher from British Columbia.
Nice.
So he'll jump on a few times a year. So if you haven't seen him, good to see him again. He's joining in tonight. One I just saw right now. Where did it go? Pam Bradley. Is from somewhere in California, I didn't say where, but she's out here by us. Her favorite, most memorable activity is slam poems.
That's all me right there.
ELA person, that's all. I
love that stuff.
I knew you'd like that one.
That's amazing.
I do want to talk a little bit about the Facebook comments here. So Melissa Trincoso,
she's one of mine.
She's thanking you, Matt, for the Facebook Live event on student reflection to end.
Yeah. I just did that recently with Holly Clark. Yeah, that was a fun conversation. I'm glad she enjoyed it. That's cool. That's cool.
And then Dave Burgess is here, and he said he loves your shelf on the background, the display.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. Because there's a whole bunch of pirate books right up here on this top shelf.
Good stuff.
Since we're talking about this, I'm gonna kind of point it up a little bit higher. You might notice that there's a whole bunch of old cameras up here. Here for a little while, I had a side hustle where I would go to estate sales and I would buy old cameras and I would flip them on eBay.
Really?
So I had a basement full, I had like several shelves in my basement full of old cameras, and I'd buy them in bulk. You know, someone would have a big collection and I'd buy them all up, and then I'd sell them off one by one by one by one. And, you know, when my wife and I were trying to make it on one little teacher salary, that stuff made a big difference. So I hung on to a couple of them. So they're still up there in my office.
That's awesome. Question 2 just dropped. Question 3. Oh my goodness. I was looking at something else. So question 3 just dropped, and it says seeing an activity through a different lens. For example, as a TV reporter, game show, etc., can be huge. Oh, okay. Share a new lens for an activity.
Interesting.
That's nice. We were just talking about empathy, so that's similar. Seeing something through a different.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's true. I can kind of expand on that a little bit if you want, because that's kind of one of the key ideas in the book. Is you know, we may have an assignment or an activity that we want our students to do, and we can sometimes encourage them to do the same type of task, but do it, like I say, through a different lens where they're acting as if they're somebody, or they're acting as if they're in a different place, or they're acting as if they're doing it through a different medium. For instance, if you have them do a writing prompt where they're tweeting for someone, that's a lens, because now they're pretending like they're tweeting for someone instead of just writing an essay. You know, if they're doing a flip grid and they're pretending like they're an on the scenes TV reporter who's like reporting from the scene, they can like take their phone and hold it up like this and be like, we're on the scene of this blah, 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 blah. And I can't believe what's happening. Come with me. It's right over here. And so like, they start to record it like that, and it feels like a whole different experience. And now all of a sudden you're not just doing an activity. Now it's an experience. And that's that line from Dave Burgess's Teach Like a Pirate that has stuck with me for so long. And that was really the entire focus of this book, Tech Like a Pirate, that I just wrote, is how can we do that with technology? And that's, you using a lens is one easy way to be able to do that, I think.
Like that.
Yeah. That reminds me of a lesson I used to do when I taught 8th grade U.S. history. My lens was that of a soccer hooligan. Me being a soccer fan, I know soccer hooligan. Hooligans, they write and sing chants for their favorite players and for their team. So I adapted a bunch of to kind of model it. I adapted a bunch of my favorite team, Manchester United, their fan chants to things that we studied in U.S. history. So I modeled it. So I was right. I go, here we go. If I can make a what out of myself, you guys should have no problem doing this. So I adapted things to be about when we covered the Civil War, Revolutionary War, and I would just get up there and I would just totally embarrass myself. I didn't care. If I'm doing it, you guys have to do it now too. And I gave it to you. They sang along. Then they sang along with me. They started having fun with it. I go, here are the lyrics to the songs. Here's like the actual MP3 files to listen to it. Now you need to rewrite it about these topics. And the ones they did about like John Brown and Harriet Tubman were just amazing. I have those videos. That's from like 8 years ago.
Wow.
Do that. They're like, what? Can we do a fan chant for this? I'm like, yes, you can. So it's that the soccer hooligan lens. Who would have thought that could be a lens?
That's hilarious.
But it worked. I love it.
Hey, John Wick just joined us.
Oh,
the real John Wick. That's right. Not
he's not bad.
Nice. Yes.
That's right. So he just joined us on Facebook Live. Welcome, John.
Nice. It's fun to see so many familiar faces. I'm seeing lots of names that I'm familiar with. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I may or may not have promoted the heck out of this event. So.
I've seen a number of tweets. So yeah. As far as what is it? Memorable memorable uses of technology. This was question 2. I was going to throw this in earlier and I missed being able to do it. In my high school Spanish classes, we used to do a lot of storytelling. I found that was a really good way to get repetitions with vocabulary words and grammar structures and stuff. And so I would have students make up a story, and then they would do what I called whiteboard animation, which isn't really animation, but I still kind of went with it. It's where you have a whiteboard behind you. So, like the big whiteboard on the wall in the classroom or something, and you set up a camera to record, and all you can see is the person's arm as they write. And so they would draw scenes from the story. And then we would take that video and we speed it up about 4 times the normal speed. So their hand was like furiously drawing this picture onto the whiteboard. And then we would do a voiceover over the top of it, and they would narrate the story. And so the visual was their speedy hands drawing the pictures out, and then the audio was them reading it. And they came up with the coolest stuff. We went through a lot of whiteboard markers, I've got to say, though. I mean, we like burned through a ton of them, but it ended up being really fun.
That's great, though. I mean, the creativity that spark in doing that, that's great.
Yeah.
Something that would go good in my classroom.
Oh, yeah. You do a lot of whiteboard stuff.
Yeah. Whiteboard walls, floor to ceiling, 360 degrees.
Nice. Yes. Very good. Very good. You got any of what was it? The whiteboards? Is that what you said?
Yeah. It's whiteboard walls are magnetic, floor to ceiling. So
yeah,
no shortage of whiteboard space.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
love that.
I did a lot of, I call it collaborative sketchnoting, where kids would, they would, one person that they would switch, one person is doing, 1 or 2 people are doing the reading, and they're telling the person what to draw. And then they have to get my feedback before I approve it. And once I approve their sketch on the whiteboard, then they can put it on their paper. So it's just a real easy way. I'm dealing with English learners, so it's really gives them a lot of time to really collaborate, really dig deep.
Cool.
Some of the ways they represent their understanding of the concepts it just trips me out. So it's those whiteboard walls.
The whiteboards are good too, because when students are using a whiteboard, they feel more comfortable making mistakes, because they feel like, okay, I can take a risk because I can erase it. My teacher won't see an eraser mark. And so I love math. When I work with math teachers, I see you've got to let them use whiteboards, and then like Flipgrid and have them explain it or whatever, or take a picture of it on a Google slide. But having them just do it on paper, they're afraid to make mistakes, so it's free. Honestly, like, as even when I'm ideating on something, Adam and I both, we're ideating on something together on a project. We use whiteboards in our home office all the time.
And we have the cheap ones, the $15 showerboard walls from Home Depot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, those work. I'm amazed at how well those work, but they do. Yeah. I've got to say also with whiteboards, whiteboards are one of my favorite ways to do retrieval practice. Retrieval practice is this real brain-friendly practice that's backed up by cognitive science. And it basically says that our studying and learning time are more effective if we retrieve information out of our brains instead of trying to cram information in, like rereading the chapter or rereading the notes. That's in. You want to try to pull it out. And so brain dumps are a great way to do that. And I think it's the coolest thing whenever you have a great big whiteboard and you say, okay, everybody go up there and do a quick sketch and a couple of words to describe the main thing that you remember. Or write out 3 things that you learned in class today and try to illustrate them in some way. And then all of a sudden, Adam, just like you were saying, it's almost like a collaborative sketch note where you have this entire board filled with little contributions from everybody, little images, little text all over the board. And then it's also great feedback for the teacher, because you can see what the commonalities are. The things that show up for everybody, those are the things that really stuck. The things that don't show up that you thought probably should have shown up, those are the things you need to hit tomorrow.
Right.
So that reminds me of, so you were in Google Innovator Academy, actually Google Teacher Academy. You're an OG.
Yes.
So when you were at Teacher Academy, for us at Innovator Academy, we did, first thing we did was Crazy Eights. I don't know if you guys did that. Crazy Eights, and because Catherine went before me and she brought it back to me, and I was geeked out on it. I was so excited to do it when I went to mine. But Crazy Eights is like, take a piece of paper or draw a grid on the whiteboard, eight boxes, and here's your topic. You have 20 seconds to sketch something about that topic. and then 20 seconds, boom, move on to the next one. Move on to the
That's
next.
hard.
Yeah, but the ideation and helping you kind of recall things, and then at the end, just do a little gallery walk and just seem like the ideation is amazing. So that's exactly what you were saying. That's what it reminds.
Yes. Oh, I totally see that.
Just ask me about that because Dr. Ray, now we're Dr. Nicole, science consultant I work with, was in one of my sessions when she first started at the county. And so she went to one of my sessions and we did this because I love the crazy eights ideation. And then I tell teachers, what do you think you could do with your students in this? So just like yesterday, she says, hey, I want to do that. Can you give me some, a slide about it or information? And so it's something that strategy stuck with her for like 2 years, and now she's all of a sudden saying she wants to do it in a session. I thought that was pretty cool because you don't always find things that have that much sticky, that have that sticky factor. How much do you remember in a session that you say, 3 years later, I think I want to try that, Yeah. And again, I learned that from Innovator Academy. It wasn't from my brain. I just sustained the learning because I did it, right? Which is what we got to do with kids, have them do something. Like you're saying, they have to actually, that's what's interesting about this distance learning thing right now is I'm finding a lot of teachers, they need to make videos. Like kids need to see their face, they need to hear their voice. But what I found was they're not saying to the kids, okay, I want you to pause this video and I want you to actually like write something out, draw something out. Like I want you to actually show me that you learned something, even if you're not going to show me right this second. Just adding that like interaction is, I think, something that we are still learning in distance learning how to do, right? But yeah, exactly. That's a huge, it made me think of it because you're saying that the brain dump, we need to go out, not in.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. There's all sorts of brain research that backs that up. I'm going to throw another book in here. There's this one, Powerful Teaching, that talks about ways that cognitive science informs how we teach. It's like teaching the way that the brain prefers to learn, written by Pooja Agarwal and Patrice Bain, two friends of mine. And that this is like required reading, I think, for teachers. So I'm making a stack of books over here on my desk of things that I've pulled out.
Powerful Teaching. I like that. I geek out about neuroscience and stuff.
Oh yeah, you would love that book. You got to check it out. Really good.
I love that. All right. Yeah. Oh, hey, question 4 is already dropped.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you read it, Adam? Or are you
So question 4 says, in tech like a pirate, I call for maverick teachers willing to take instructional risks. How important is this? I think it's paramount. Like, if you're not taking risks, you're not trying. That's just how I am. My mom had years ago growing up, she was a certified trainer for True Colors. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Matt. The True Colors, it's about your personality. There's 4 colors of our personality: orange, blue, gold, and green. So, like for example, your blue is your more sensitive side. You wear your heart on your sleeve. Green is your quiet, analytical side. Your gold is your goal-oriented, organized side. Your orange is your life of the party, risk-taking side. And we all have a spectrum of some more than others. And the key is to knowing when to be which color. So what you guys are talking about just totally reminded me of True Colors and how I taught my students how to say, you know what, I think you need to be more green right now. You need to be more introspective. Let's not be as risk-taking and as orange right now, or as social. So I used to print out at every table in my classroom, and we would do that for historical figures. So what do you think the color spectrum is of Hitler or of Stalin or of JFK or Kennedy and or Lincoln? So it was so that totally brought that to my head.
Thanks to what we're hearing so much of right now is that social emotional piece.
Yeah.
Our current, because you have to be self-aware, right? So if you're talking about kids knowing that those are different parts and what is most needed right now, I think that's really helpful too.
Right? Yeah.
It's all
totally agree with that.
7:33. This is just flown by.
I know. I knew this was going to happen, and it's 10:33 here, so I'm starting to drag just a little bit, but I'm always happy to stay up for you all. This is always a good conversation.
I totally appreciate this, man. Thanks for hanging out with us.
And
Is there anything you wanted to speak about your book that just came out and has been just has been wildly successful already, which is super cool. But
yeah.
Tell everyone a little bit about that and what they can look forward to in reading your book.
Yeah, totally. So Tech Like a Pirate is a follow-up to Dave Burgess's book, Teach Like a Pirate. And as I was saying earlier, there was that one line that I wanted to write a whole book about. Don't just teach a lesson, create an experience. Came from Teach Like a Pirate. And every one of the examples I always seem to come up with for that always involved technology. I read that book 7 years ago, and I think for the last 7 years, I've been writing this book for 7 years, just brainstorming ways to make learning an experience with technology. And so I've got 7 key ways that you can do that with lots of examples of how to do it and how to come up with your own things. But one thing that's really cool about it is whether you get the book or not, I have a huge resources page dedicated to the ideas in the book, and it's all totally free. So if you go to techlikeapirate.com, it'll show you a whole bunch of blog posts and videos and different things surrounding the ideas of the book. So if you read the book and you want to go deeper, go to that site. If you're just not ready to buy the book yet, but you're intrigued, go to that site. And there's tons and tons of stuff that you can use right off of there right away. So yeah, Tech Like a Pirate, and it's also, we were just talking about the cognitive science side of things and, research and how we need to base some things in science to at least to some extent too. And that's what I've tried to do as well, is to give it a good, solid pedagogy focus. It's not just about rah, let's go have fun for the sake of having fun. It's not about let's use technology for the sake of using technology. It's about how can we improve the learning experience. Learning is at the heart of this entire book. And that's, and I think that you can do it in a fun way. That's really what the book's all about.
I love it. Thanks. Well, I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will attest to the quality and inspiration that I've found from all of your books, Matt. So this one I know is going to be just the same. So yeah, we had a lot of people here on Facebook Live and on Twitter, and we want to thank you so much for being here. Anything else you wanted to say?
No, I mean, just thanks again. And, just for those, I've told people this when I was promoting tonight that, how inspirational you were for me early on in my tech coaching career, that it was just that one time when you featured on one of your top 20 lists that I was like, you put me number 2 for things. This is like 2015. Holy crap, someone noticed something. Hey, I can do this. So again, thank you again for being such a inspiration and empowering me as a tech coach. And can't thank you enough, dude.
Well, hey, I'm happy to hand the baton off, but just like in a relay race, I run my part and I give you the baton, and nothing happens if you don't run, so you've done quite a big part in running that race yourself and innovating and pushing other people. It's fun to see the ripple effect, isn't it? Like it's a drop in the middle of the pond and it starts to go. And, I may have been part of your ripple, but now you're going to be, both of you are the part of so many other people's ripples too. And so, after a while, they'll reach so far that we can't even fathom. So it's rewarding to be a part of it, I think, for all of us. And if you're watching this on Facebook Live, I'm sure you're in the same boat. So it's great to be in education, isn't it?
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Yeah. Lots of hope, lots of inspiration. Great teachers doing great things. So thank you for joining us and for helping be that inspiration.
My pleasure.
All right, Matt. Well, it's late for you. Go get some sleep.
That's right.
Make sure those kids aren't sneaking snacks right now unless you go to bed. So
that's right. All right. Sounds good.
Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
All right. See you guys.